Okay then, before I start today's Retrobat 6.2 setup guide for Windows PC, if you like what you see today, hit notifications, subscribe and like so you don't miss out on upcoming retro emulation setup guides like this one you're about to watch today. That just means you'll get notified every time I release a new setup guide, and it also helps my channel out too. So for those of you who's been following me for some time now, you'll realise at this point every time the Retrobat team releases a new stable version, I do a full setup guide, and they're going to get bigger and bigger over time. So today we're going to look at everything really. If you're new to Retrobat, very briefly, Retrobat is a front-end system and probably one of the most easiest out there and user-friendly front-end systems compared with other front-end systems out there such as Attract Mode or say EmuDeck for Windows. So brand new version of Retrobat, and what we're going to do first is head over to the Retrobat website, and all the links are going to be in my description for the websites used today. And what we're going to do first of all is just check out what updates and bug fixes we got in this new stable 6.2. So if we just go to changelog, and just here we can just pull down version 6.2, which released about 12 hours ago as I record this video. So as we can see just here at the top, the team have added Suyu support, so obviously Yuzu emulation for Nintendo Switch is no longer a thing, so instead as an alternative we got Suyu just here. We've also got a new support system for the Nintendo 3DS, which is Lime 3DS, and we've also got some Sonic the Hedgehog engines just here, as well as other systems for MAME also included. We've also got the regular updates for systems which has been in Retrobat for some time, such as Wii U Sameu, Flycast for Dreamcast, and RPCS 3 for obviously PlayStation 3. And if we just scroll down a bit further, we can see lots of new fixes here for the system itself. And we've also got lots of new features added into Retrobat 6.2. So a big update, and the last time this was updated was 3 weeks ago, and there's been lots of improvements since. So what we're going to do is download it. Just go into the download tab and download now. And we're going to download now. And from here, no thanks, just take me to the downloads. And we're going to download then, as we can actually see here, this was actually uploaded 17 hours ago. So 6.2, stable for Windows 64. If we download this, as we can see, this is a gigabyte in size. So we're just going to download this. And whilst we're waiting for it to download, what I'm going to suggest doing is heading over to Screen Scraper. And if we head over to Screen Scraper, you can sign up with us for absolutely free. And what this means is we can actually download or scrape artwork and preview videos inside a Retrobat. And Screen Scraper is probably the best out there for scraping your artwork. You can pay extra if you want more scraping per system, but you can read through this, but I seriously recommend signing up for the free version anyways. So what we're going to do next is go over to Retro Achievements, and again, just like Screen Scraper, we can sign up for Retro Achievements for absolutely free. It doesn't cost anything, and there's particular games with Retro Achievements where you can actually earn Retro Achievements. So think back to the times of PlayStation 3 or even PlayStation 4, when you hit an achievement, you get a little window pop up in a sound. It is highly recommended, just like Screen Scraper is, to add to your overall retro gaming experience. So we've just downloaded Retrobat 6.2, and here it is then. So what I'm going to suggest first, if anyone's still using version 6.1, every time I do one of these setup guides, I'll get a multitude of comments in my comments section asking if I should update. Then please take a look at the log, which I just showed you. There's lots of updates, but this also comes with a warning. Just make sure to back up your data before updating. So what we're going to do is install 6.2. And if you get Windows protected, your PC come up, just go to more info and then simply press run anyway. Okay, first of all, we got select the language to use during installation. So obviously select your language from here. I'm going to go for English, okay, and next. And if you fancy reading this for a few hours, then read it at your own pleasure. I accept the agreement, press next. And again, more terms and conditions. If you want to read it, read it. Let's go to next. Now the next part of this is the part where we can install Retrobat to our C drive or even external drive. You can actually make this portable very easily. If you want to make it portable, pop in a USB device, go to browse, and then just make sure your external drive is set up, and it really is a simple case of just installing it that way. For me, I'm going to install this to my C drive as always. Okay, and within our C drive it's going to create a new folder called Retrobat, as it says, but I'm going to take you through that. We're going to go to next thing we're going to do is make sure that if you don't have DirectX 9 or Visual C++, if you're not sure if you've got them, keep them checked, because without these, Retrobat will unlikely run for you. So what we're going to do is go to next, and we also want to create a desktop shortcut so it's easy to access. Press next, and finally install. And if you get a pop-up asking you, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device, Microsoft DirectX, just press yes. Okay, so what it's doing right now is extracting all of the files for the installation into our C drive, into the Retrobat folder, so we can actually see this being built. If I open up my C drive, this PC, C drive, if we just scroll down, you'll find a new Retrobat folder just here. So if we open this up, as we can see, this is now being installed into that folder, and this is where all the magic happens. Okay, once that's finished, we're just going to press literally finish, and that's it. Retrobat is now installed. Okay then, so we've now got the Retrobat shortcut, which is obviously going to launch Retrobat, and we've still got the installation exe of this. So let's just delete that one for now. We no longer need that one. Now the first thing we need to check is the directory of this. Of course, using the directory is how we get games or import games into Retrobat. So you can access this very easily by opening up the Windows Explorer, go into this PC, into your C drive, and you'll find your Retrobat folder like I just showed just now. However, an easier way is literally just right clicking on the Retrobat shortcut and just go into open file location, and here we go. So this is where we can start adding things and making Retrobat the ultimate gaming experience. So we're going to go to Bat GUI first. If you're new to Retrobat, Bat GUI is a little program it comes with. It installs with Retrobat itself, and it gives us a range of tools. If we just open up this one, and here we go. So on the last couple of releases of Retrobat version 6 and 6.1, there's been a few features here which has been unavailable. For example, if I go to BIOS checker, and again it still says coming soon, so we can't use that one. What we can do from here is if we just check the manufacturer side just here, and I select something like, I don't know, BBC Micro, we get lots of information just here, and it's going to tell us what type of files we need for particular systems. So for example, BBC Micro by Acorn, which I've just selected, tells us that in order to run the games through Retrobat, the file extensions for those games need to be in .zip or .7zip. If I go to, say, Atari 2600, it's going to tell us here that the file extensions for Atari 2600 are .7zip, .826, .bin, .rom, .zip, etc. So that's a really nice feature and a really nice way of finding out which file extensions we need. So I'm not going to attempt to go in any of these apart from CHD Manager. So CHD Manager is a really nice program where we can actually convert .bin and .q files into CHD. CHD saves you a lot of space, and it's better than having lots of .bin and .q files, which are very typical for CD-based systems such as the Sega CD or even the PlayStation 1. So nice little feature there, but personally I use a different program called CHD Man, which I'm going to get into shortly. So if we just close this down for now and close out of Bat GUI, what we're going to do next is take a look at the folders which this is created. So one of the important ones here is the BIOS folder, and for systems like I was just mentioning, systems like PlayStation 1, Sega Mega CD, they all need BIOS files. Now mainly your BIOS files normally go loosely into this folder, and we got the exception with particular systems here such as MAME, which you can check out on my other setup guides, but generally your BIOS files just gets popped into this folder here. If we come out of here, we have got ROMs folder, And of course, this is where all your games go. So everything ranging from the Panasonic 3DO or Gold Star 3DO right down to ZX Spectrum, all your games are going to go into one of these folders. For example, if I wanted to emulate the Sharp X1, I would go into the X1 folder and I'd put my games in here. And just remember, if you're unsure which file extensions your games need to be in, then that's the real useful thing with BAT GUI, as I just showed you a minute ago. So everything's covered there. Now, what we're going to do next is actually open up Retrobat. Okay, so this is Retrobat, and what we're going to do first of all is just connect a controller. And here we go. So I've just connected my Xbox Series X controller. Now, if you plan to use a wireless controller, let me just show you a very easy way to do this if you're unsure. What I'm going to do is just press my Windows key, and in my search bar, I'm going to type in Bluetooth, and you should find Bluetooth and other devices systems pop up. If you just left click on that, and from here you have to go to add device and just left click on Bluetooth, and then just pair your controller. So as you know, I'm using Xbox controller, and here we go. Xbox wireless controller. If I left click on that, it's going to say connecting. If I go to done, and that's it, we're now set up with a controller. So what does Retrobat come with? If we go into ports, we're going to find some games in here. And if I go to all games, it's going to literally list all the games I've got, which is nothing at the moment, just some ports and some freeware games. What we're going to do then is actually add our own games into Retrobat. So what we're going to do is close out of Retrobat. If I press my start button on my controller, brings up main menu. We're going to go down to quit. And here we go, we're now out. So as you might have noticed on my desktop just now, I've got several folders here, ranging from the Sega Mega Drive down to the Nintendo 64. So we're going to build this. We're going to go to the ROMs folder. And first of all, we got Nintendo NES. So we're going to find NES within that ROMs folder. Here's NES. Now, what I'm going to do is go into my NES folder and just drag and drop my Nintendo NES collection just here. Very easy. And if we come out, the next system I'm going to add is N64. So we're going to go into the N64 folder. And again, I'm going to just drag and drop those games into N64. And finally, for now, I've got Mega Drive or Sega Genesis, which isn't actually listed here. So for people out there in certain parts of the world knows this by the Sega Genesis, Retrobat refers to it as Mega Drive. So we're going to go into the Mega Drive folder. And again, just pop my games in there. And here we go. So what we're going to do next is actually take a look at editing files. If we go to ROMs and I go to Mega Drive, one thing I need to mention is that every now and again, when we go into Retrobat and we scrape our games, the artwork in the preview videos, you might find that you can't scrape particular games. Now, there's normally a reason around this, and it's normally about how your game is titled. For example, well, I've got Terminator 2 here, or T2, the arcade game. We can edit this in order for, say, Screen Scraper or another database to identify it to download this artwork. If I go to show more options, rename, I will simplify this just by taking out USA and Europe. So we're left with T2 hyphen the arcade game. So that's going to make it a lot easier for Screen Scraper to actually scrape the games. So what we're going to do is go back into Retrobat. Okay, now if I scroll through Retrobat, we should find our new systems added, and here we go. So we got Nintendo Entertainment System, we got Nintendo 64, and we got Mega Drive. So what we need to do at this point is actually press start button to open up main menu. If we just go down to Scraper, and I'm pressing A button to enter this, and scrape from. So here's our databases we can use. Now, Screen Scraper, without a doubt, is probably the best one on here. We've got other scraping databases too, so if Screen Scraper fails to get you anything, then it's worth trying another one of these. So Screen Scraper, and what we're going to do next is go down to Scraper Settings. If I go into this one, first thing I'm going to do is just go to the bottom and type in username. And just a minute ago, I did take you to the Screen Scraper website, and like I say, you need to register with this. So if I pop in my username and password, okay, and if we go back to the top again, we got image source. So what I generally say and suggest is just putting box 3D on, and that's going to scrape us 3D boxes, which I think looks pretty snazzy. Next thing I'm going to do is under box source, I'm going to leave this one to box 2D. Logo source, in terms of using Retrobat, we can either display our games with wheels or marquees. I'm going to select wheel, and we're next going to go down to make sure video is enabled. So obviously video is going to download us preview videos. I'm also going to enable fan art. Every now and again, if Screen Scraper or another scraping database can't find official artwork or preview videos, it will get us fan art instead. So I highly recommend using fan art so you don't end up with blank spaces in your Retrobat collection. Next thing I'm going to do is also enable map. Now if I go down to back, systems included, if I press A, we see here that I've got all of my systems in Retrobat and they're all pretty much ready to scrape. So I'm going to scrape all of these in one go. I'm going to go to back and then scrape now. And at the top right hand side now, you can see scraping 1 out of 20 games. So this can be pretty quick sometimes. If you're using a lot of games, obviously it's going to take longer. It also depends on the time of day. So let this do its thing. Okay, then you'll get a pop-up and it will say scraping finished. So what we need to do in order to display our artwork that we've just downloaded is from main menu, just go at the game settings, update game list again by pressing A. Really update game list, press A again on yes. And here we go. So if I go into my Mega Drive folder, we're going to see artwork. And if I go over to my Nintendo Entertainment System, we've got artwork too. Now we don't have to go in and out. We can actually scroll through systems. Literally, I'm pressing my RT button on my controller and that's going to flip us through. Now you're going to find that through default, our artwork is missing, so we can actually edit how the theme looks. For example, if I press my start button, user interface settings, if I then go down to theme configuration, game list view style, if I put this to say game carousel for example, and press B to come out, if I then go into Mega Drive, as we can see, I've now got a wheel complete with the 3D box art, and we can see this all in full. And this will be the same for all of the systems here. So if I go into say Nintendo 64, here we go, awesome stuff. Now whilst I'm talking about themes, we can actually download additional themes in Retrobat, and some of these are very awesome. Again, by pressing start button to access your main menu. From here we go down to updates and downloads, and what we're going to do is go to themes and press A to select this one. And here we go. Now we got 3 tabs at the top, and you can access each one of these by, in my case, using my D-pad. So if we go to installed, it will tell us which themes we've got installed. And as we can see, I've not done anything yet, so I've got nothing here. If we go to available, it's going to tell us all the themes that are available to us. So if I download one of my favorite themes, which is Seacow Book, I'm going to press A on this and then press A to install it. And we can download as many of these themes as we want. Some of them are pretty large in size, so if you don't have much space on your hard drive, I'd be very cautious with the themes you're downloading. And as we can see, for example, on Clean UI, it tells us how big the sizes are. Clean UI, 815 megabyte, whereas some of these themes will go up to around 10 gigabyte. For example, ES Theme Reload we got just here, which a lot of people's commented on recently when I've done live streams. This one's 2 gigabyte. So like I say, just go very careful when you're downloading these if you're running out of space. If I press B to come out, and here we go. So CCAP Book, which I've just downloaded and installed, is now been installed successfully. So in order to apply this into Retrobat, from main menu, I'm going to go to user interface settings, theme set, and this is where we can set CCAD book or any other theme that you download. If I press A, and in order for this to apply, if I press B to come out, and here we go. Okay, cool. So other things we can do with this is also edit how it looks. So if I go back into, say, Nintendo, here we go. So if I go to main menu again, user interface settings, theme configuration, I got lots of different options here I can play around with per theme. Game list view style is on automatic. If I, for example, put this down to wallpapers carousel and come out, here we go, and now layout is now changed. Again, if I go to main menu, user interface settings, for this particular theme, I can actually change the menu item color. It's on blue. If I go down to say yellow, and let's just change a few things around. Systems logos type. If I put this to wheel left, and if I press B to come out, and here we go. So rather than being on the right hand side, the wheel is now on the left hand side. And if you make a mess of this or whatever, if we go to user interface settings, theme configuration, right at the bottom, you can actually reset this. So press A on reset customizations. And there we go. That theme is now gone back to how it was when you downloaded it. Okay, so in the past, I've had reports and I faced this experience myself that particular themes within Retrobat won't download. Let's just close out of Retrobat. So press start on main menu and we're going to go to quit. Now what we're going to do is head over to a website and I'm going to go to GitHub just here. Now Scotty Retro is a very active theme developer and he comes out with some very awesome themes. We can manually download emulationstation themes. Now remember, Retrobat is based on emulationstation. That's not to say all emulationstation themes are going to work. But if we download this, so if I go to code and download a zip, we're just going to wait for this one to download. Whilst this is downloading, what we're going to do is head over to the Retrobat directory. So right click on the shortcut, open file location, and we're going to find emulation station folder. If we go inside of here and into the .emulation station folder, down to themes, this is where we can put our themes. So as we can see, I've got CCAD book just here, which I downloaded using Retrobat, and I've also got ES theme, that's emulation station theme, which comes with Retrobat as default. So what we're going to do is just wait for that download, and once it's finished downloading, you'll end up with a zip folder. So what we need to do is just extract this or unpack it. Here's what we need. So if I just extract this, and while this is extracting, I'm going to just head back into the Retrobat directory where this needs to go. So right click on the shortcut, open file location, emulation station, .emulation station, and themes. And once this is extracted, this is then going to go inside of there. Okay, so once that's finished extracting, we can then just drag that folder into the .emulation station themes folder. And there we go. So if we then go back into Retrobat, and if I go back into my themes, so I'm going to press start button to enter main menu, user interface settings, theme set, and here we go. I've now got a touch of glass, which I've just installed manually. So if I use this, press A and press B to come out, here we go. We've now got a touch of glass by Scotty Retro. A very, very awesome theme. And of course, just like the other themes that we downloaded using Retrobat, we can also edit how this looks. So theme configuration, game list view style, game carousel. If I come out, go into one of my game folders, and here we go. So highly customizable, very cool stuff. Whilst I'm in Retrobat for now, let me just tell you how you can actually edit your controller settings. So by standard, in most cases, Retrobat will pick up your controller. If we go down to controller settings from main menu, if I go to control mapping at the top and press A, just press OK on this, and then this will give us the opportunity to actually map out our controller, which I highly recommend doing. All we need to do is keep our finger pressed down on a button, so I'm going to press the A button, keep it down, and there we go. So we can now map out. So south is going to be the A button on my controller, east is going to be the B button, north is going to be my Y button, and so on. Now, if you don't have enough buttons on your controller, in that circumstance, in order to bypass one of these mappings, just keep your finger pressed down on any button on your controller and it will skip past it. So for example, if I want to bypass right stick press, if I keep my finger held down on a button, it will just skip past that, say not defined. Now finally we got hotkey. Hotkey is the button pressed in order to exit your games. So normally I just press down on right and left stick together. And by pressing that whilst we're in a game, that should then take us into Retrobat. If we go to OK. Okay, so what we're going to do next is actually open up one of these games. So we're going to open up a Nintendo NES game. Now with Retrobat, systems have many different emulators. From main menu, what we're going to do is actually press select button once we're inside the system. This is going to bring view options up. If I go to advanced system options, right at the top I got emulator. If I press A to enter this, as you can see, Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES or NES, has many different emulation sources just here. Generally, the first option, which is going to be Libretto FCEUMM, works fine. And let me just remind you, in Retrobat, if you keep Auto on, that means it's going to use the next option down. Now, we can actually download standalone emulators, or emulator multi-emulators, that is. For example, if I want to use BizHawk for Nintendo NES, if I select this and then open up a game, it's going to say emulator BizHawk is not installed. Do you want to install now? If I press on yes, it's going to download BizHawk. But we're not going to use that for now, but that's how you do it. So I'm going to press my hotkey to come out there, and what we're going to do next is actually take a look at some custom settings. So we're going to go back into Nintendo NES. If I go down to advanced system options, I'm going to select Auto, which is of course going to give us the next option down, Libretto FCEUMM. And let me just tell you that Retroarch powers around 85 to probably 90% of emulation systems within Retrobat. So I'm going to put Auto on for this, and we're going to actually boot up the game using this. So we're going to go for a classic Darkwing Duck. Okay, so what I'm going to show you next is how to use cheats. We can actually access the Retroarch quick menu, as you can see here. In my case, I'm pressing the F1 key to access this. If we scroll down using D-pad, we're going to find cheats. In order to apply these cheats, what we need to do is just press B to come out. We're going to go down to Online Updater and press A to enter that. And if we then go down, we're going to find Update Cheats. If I press A on this one, and this can take a little time to extract. It's got a lot to extract, so be patient with this. Okay, once that's finished extracting, what I'm going to do is press B to come out. I'm going to go up to Quick Menu, and we're going to apply a cheat to Darkwing Duck. So we're going to just scroll down, and we're going to press A on Cheats. And from here, I'm going to go to apply after toggle. I'm going to press A to turn this on. Next thing I'm going to do is go down to load cheat file. If I press A on this one, we're then going to see a list of different systems, all folders. So for this, I'm going to find Nintendo Entertainment System, and here it is. If we go inside of this folder, we're going to find lots of cheat files. So I need to find Darkwing Duck, and as you can see, everything is in alphabetical order. So I'm just going to scroll down and find Darkwing Duck. And here's Darkwing Duck. So we got two versions of this. We got a USA version, and we've also got a USA and European version, Game Genie version. I'm going to select this one just here and press A. Now if I scroll down, we're going to find we got lots of different cheat switches appeared for this game. So let's just find something like Infinite Lives. If I press A, and from here I'm going to go into Enabled and press A to turn this on. I'm then going to go down to say Infinite Strength and enable this. Infinite Lives, I'm just going to go to Enabled and turn it on. Invincibility, Enabled. Now in order to apply these cheats to my game, I just need to scroll upwards and go to Apply Changes. If I press A on this, Applying Cheat Changes. If I come out of the game, if I come out, go to Quick Menu, Resume. And just by pressing the F1 key on my keyboard back in the quick menu, as we can see, my character Darkwing Duck is now invincible. So that's how you do cheats. And let me just tell you, not every system supports cheats, but the main systems does, such as Super Nintendo, Nintendo NES, Master System, Mega Drive. For systems such as PlayStation 2, some games have cheats, some don't. So let's actually exit out this game and go into Retrobat again. So from the main menu, I'm going to go to Quit and press A. Okay, so we just exited Retrobat, and what I'm going to do is show you how to do a bit of customization to the front end itself. So if I go to Retrobat shortcut, open file location, from here what I'm going to do is just go down to emulationstation and into the .emulationstation folder again and into the music folder. Just here is the front end music you can hear playing in the background, which are disabled. Now as long as your music files are in the same .ogg file extension or .ogg format, you can add your own background music to this. And if you don't like any of these themes in the background, just delete them like I've just done. If we come out, we can then go down to video. And in the video folder is where the intro videos are. So for example, if I didn't like any of these, I can actually delete them. So if I delete each one of these, and I go to open up Retrobat again. And as you can see on that time round, we have no intro video. Now don't let that freak you out, because through Retrobat, we can actually download intro videos. From main menu, if I go down to updates and downloads, we're going to go to content downloader. And from here, if I use my D-pad, I can scroll across the intro videos, and we got lots here. So if I press A, install. And just like themes, we can download as many of these as we want. So let's go for this one. Now, if I quit out of Retrobat, and go back into the Retrobat folder, open file location, emulationstation, .emulationstation, video. Here's what I've just downloaded. Okay, next up, we still got lots to cover. I'm going to show you how to download some free games using Retroarch through Retrobat. Now, what I need to do is Retrobat shortcut, open file location. If I go to my emulators folder, in here we're going to find Retroarch. We just scroll down, we're going to find Retroarch here, and we can actually open this up outside of Retrobat. And let me just tell you that this isn't your average Retroarch. It's actually custom in order to run perfectly with Retrobat. If we go to retroarch.exe, From here, what we're going to do is go to Online Updater, press A. We're going to go to Content Downloader, press A. And just here, for example, we're going to go for Doom. If I press A on this, I'm going to download doomshareware.zip. And I'm going to download prboom.wad. If I then come out and go to Core System Files Downloader, I'm going to go down to prboom.zip and download this and let this extract. And I'm also going to go to xric and download this too. If I come out and quit, and next up what we're going to do is go back into the emulators folder and down to your Retroarch folder again. And from here we're going to go to downloads. Here's the Doom files that I've just downloaded. If I make a copy of these, come out, and then I need to go into my Retrobat ROMs folder, and we're going to find a folder in here called prboom. If I go into prboom, it says this folder is empty. If I paste both of those files in there, and then I launch Retrobat again, if we go into the ports folder, we're then going to find prboom. If I open this, and there we go, we now have Doom. And of course we can get some artwork for this as well. So press start button to access the main menu, scraper, and systems included. I'm just going to need the prboom artwork. So back and scrape now. And we're going to go to game settings, update game list, and yes. And here we go, we now got Doom artwork. And we also got Rick Dangerous to play, which we've also just downloaded through Retroarch. Okay, so let's take a look at some video settings. So for example, I'm going to go and use Mega Drive for this. Now, if I open up the game as standard, we're going to have bezels on the sides, or as Retrobat refers to them as decorations. If we press select button to view options, if I go to advanced system options, again, just like NES, we got emulator, but we're going to leave this be. We're going to go to shader set. We can actually apply shaders. If I go to curvature and then go to decorations, right at the bottom, by default, we'll have default unglaze, and that's going to give us a Sega Mega Drive sides rather than having boring plain black sides. So what I'm going to do is actually put this to none. Game aspect ratio, I'm going to boost this up to full. And we're going to also go to integer scaling and turn this on. What this is going to do is blur the pixelation slightly. Vertical sync I'm going to put to yes, which takes away screen tear. And let me just say that all of these options, video options I'm applying now, pretty much accounts for all the systems on Retrobat. Other systems like PlayStation 1 and PS2 will have different settings, but in principle they all pretty much do the same thing for each system. If we go to visual rendering, video filters, I've got more video filters here to apply, but I'm not going to alter that because we've just put on shader set. If I open up a game now, and just press my hotkey to exit out of the game, and as you can see we now got a very cool CRT look. So let's go back to advanced system options. This time I'm going to go into shader set and just put this one to none. Now I'm going to go down to visual rendering and video filters, and I'm then going to apply a different type of video filter. If I go down and apply, say, scanline 2 times and go back into the game, and as you can see, we now got a very awesome scan line up here. Now, other things we can do is actually download what's called Mega Bezels in Retrobat. If we go to main menu by pressing start, updates and downloads, we're going to go to the bezel project. And just here, it's identified all the systems I put onto Retrobat so far. So we got Mega Drive, we got N64, Nintendo NES or Famicom. So what we're going to do is press A on Mega Drive and install. Okay, Bezels installed successfully. So if I come out and I go back to view options by pressing select button, advanced system options. If I go to decorations, I'm going to find the bezel project at the bottom now, which wasn't there a minute ago. If I press A to select this, and what I'm going to do is go to game aspect ratio and just put this to config. If we leave this on full with the Mega Bezels applied, it's going to look really messy and you're going to miss a lot of the gameplay footage or gameplay in general. If we go back into a game, now we can also go to advanced system options, and if you don't like the image which config gives you, just put it to auto, which is going to select 4:3. And of course most 8-bit, 16-bit and even some 32-bit systems would be the aspect ratio of 4:3. If I put this to auto and open up a game, as you can see, the aspect ratio looks a little bit better now. Okay, we're now going to start looking at some more complex systems within Retrobat, so CD-based systems primarily. So what we're going to do is use a program called CHDman. So of course we got CHD Creator within Retrobat and its Bat GUI program, but I prefer using CHDman. And again, link's going to be in my description for this. So if we go over to this website, which is actually Rollcallbox, what we're going to do is just download chdman.zip. If we open this one up, we're going to find a few different bits and pieces in here. If I right click on my desktop, go to new folder, and I'm going to call it CHDman, and I'm going to extract those contents from that zip folder inside of here. So very often when you rip your PlayStation games or CD-based games, you extract them or rip them into .bin and .q. So what we're going to do next is go into the CHDman folder. If I left click on chdman.exe and the next file down, which is qgdi iso to chdbat, if I just drag and drop those in with the Crash Bandicoot game I've got, what I'm going to do is double left click on the .bat file here, and this is going to bring up a terminal. So what this is doing now is actually converting the .bin and .q into a single file known as CHD. Some games can take longer than others, but in the long run it's going to save you a lot of space, and it's going to get rid of those really annoying .bins and .q files. Okay, once that's finished, the terminal's going to close down automatically, and that just tells us that it's done its job. If we look in the Crash Bandicoot folder now, we'll see a CHD file. So if I highlight this, it will say 442 megabyte, whereas if I highlight on the .bin, 602 megabytes. So this game alone is saving me around 200 megabyte. So what we're going to do then is just drag out the Crash Bandicoot game. And normally if you're using .bin and .q files in Retrobat, the games need to be put in their own dedicated folder like I've got just here. But if we convert them to .chd, then you can actually loosely place them into the Retrobat ROMs directory. So if I just find PSX, and here's PSX, if I just drag in my newly created .chd. Now, because we're looking at a CD-based system, we're going to need BIOS files for this. Easiest way to do this and to establish which BIOS files you need is literally just type into your search engine Retrobat, and I'm going to put PSX. If we go to PlayStation, this is going to be a wiki for Retrobat. From here, we're going to find out which BIOS files we need, and you can pretty much do this with any system through Retrobat. Literally just type into Google or whichever browser you're using the system name, and then just put Retrobat on the end, and this is how we're going to find how to run these games. So once we've established which BIOS files we need, we then need to navigate into the BIOS folder. And for a system like PlayStation 1, your BIOS files are literally going to paste loosely into this BIOS folder, and here they are. Now if I open up Retrobat, and we're now going to find PlayStation. If we go in here, of course, we need to scrape some artwork. So I'm going to press the start button, which brings up main menu, scraper, and just scrape for PlayStation. Just make sure systems included has PlayStation. So scrape now. Okay, and once again, we're going to go game settings, update game list, and yes. And here we go. Now for PlayStation, we got several different options. So if we go to Advanced System Options, Emulator, by default this is going to open up with Retroarch, Mendefen, PSX. We got several different ways to play PlayStation, some very good ways in fact. Swan Station is an extremely good Retroarch core, and we can even download DuckStation standalone. If I go for this one, and I go to open up the game, now it's going to say every now and again that missing BIOS files. So the problem is here, it's because PlayStation has many different ways of emulating it through Retrobat. Each system or each emulator is going to require a BIOS file. So for example, if I missed out a BIOS file, it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't play. If we try this, and we need to install DuckStation, just like BizHawk earlier on, because this is a standalone emulator. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the gameplay using DuckStation, but DuckStation has got many advantages which necessarily aren't applicable to something like a Retroarch core. So what we're going to do is go to Advanced System Options, Emulator, and I'm actually going to use the equivalent, Retroarch equivalent of DuckStation, which is SwanStation. So if I select that, and what I'm going to do next is actually enhance how PS1 games look really greatly. So if you're familiar or you was brought up in the era of PS1 games, then you'll know how pixelated and outdated they look nowadays. So what I'm going to do is just do a very brief setup for you. I'm going to use none on shader set. Decorations, I'm going to put to none. Game aspect ratio, I'm going to put this to full. And integer scaling, I'm going to turn this to on to take away pixelation. Vertical sync, I'm going to put this to yes, which is going to take away screen tear, which is going to be very obvious in 3D games. If I then go to internal resolution, and I'm going to bump this up to say 8 times. Now, if you've got a lower end computer running Retrobat, if you go up to around what I'm about to go to, it's likely going to lag and it's likely going to crash your computer too. So be very sensible, be very modest with internal resolution. If we then go to visual rendering, if we then drop down to anti-aliasing, and just like internal resolution, if you've got a weak computer, then just be very careful with what you're applying just here. Otherwise, your games are likely going to just lag or just crash. So I'm going to put this on to 4 times as I'm recording this video, this extra stress on my computer. And under true color, I'm going to put this to yes. If I come back out, I'm then going to go down to drivers and video, and of course, just like any other system, if you're finding you're getting a black screen under video, change it to something like Vulkan and it's quite likely you will then get a display. If I go into the game, and just by pressing spacebar, if I'm using a Retroarch core, I can actually fast forward.
What have we got?
And as you can see, compared with how PlayStation 1 games should look, that's a massive improvement. And that's it for today's Retrobat version 6.2 setup guide. So like I've been saying through the video, I've got a whole playlist around 140 separate Retrobat setup guides ranging from PlayStation 3 to Technoparrot to Sega Model 3 and beyond. Anyways, if you liked today's video, hit notifications, subscribe and like so you don't miss out on upcoming retro emulation content that I release every day on my channel, Just Jamie. Also feel free to join me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok, and I also ask for donations for my channel in order to make my channel so much better. So anyways, thanks for watching. Until next time, stay retro.